Coming up here today on the Raiders Report, I'm going to tell you why Nathan Peterman, Nathan Peterman, has a real chance to make the Raiders' 53-man roster over Anthony Brown and over Carter Bradley. When the news broke on Tuesday, I literally couldn't even believe that I was reading it the right way. The Raiders signed Nathan Peterman. Unfortunately, they were moving on from Keelan Doss. But, when I broke this news down on YouTube, if you haven't seen it yet, that's why you got to be subscribed. But, when you got the notification that Nathan Peterman was a Raider again, I can't even say it without cracking a smile. And, I was sitting here wondering, what year is it? Is Gruden coming back? But if you cracked a smile, a grin, if just you had a little bit of happiness when you saw that Nathan Peterman was a Raider again, I want you to hit that subscribe button because I could not describe a better feeling that I had of there's no way that Nathan Peterman is a Raider again, man. So coming up here, we're going to be breaking down why I think that he does end up making this roster here for the Silver and Black. The first reason, and this is the reason why he was signed. If you're a fan out there going, Mitch, why the heck did we sign Nathan Peterman? It doesn't make any sense. Here's the thing. I actually think it does make some sense. Quite frankly, I think it makes a lot of sense. And he's got some experience with Luke Getsy, which is very important if you're going to make a signing like this. At this point in the offseason, reminder, Peterman was on the Bears from 2022 to 2023. So that's 2 seasons, 2 years playing underneath, guess who? Luke Getsy in this offense. And, he was on the active and on the practice squad last year. He actually got cut, I want to say, 3 different times by Chicago, and then he would automatically just basically make their practice squad. But Peterman, he looked good last season in the preseason, and I can go back a few years ago when Peterman looked really good with Gruden, and he's always looked pretty damn sharp in the preseason. But look at some of these numbers here, right? In 2023, the preseason last year, he was 14-24 for 173 yards and 1 touchdown. In the 2022 preseason, so the first year that he had to learn the Getsy offense, 14-24 for 178 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Well, let's look at Peterman's stats in 2022 because he did get 1 start. He appeared in 3 games, 14-25, 139 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I don't know if just every time Peterman steps on the field, if he's going to have to only complete 14 balls. It's something to look at. But from a career standpoint with Getsy, this is the regular and preseason over the past 2 years, he's got a completion percentage of 57.5. Obviously not great, but 490 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Comparing the other quarterback play that we've seen the preseason outside of Minshew and Aidan O'Connell, and if anybody out there says Nathan Peterman being signed by the Raiders is bad news for Aidan or Gardner, grow up. It's just not it at all. The only thing that it's bad news for is for Carter Bradley and Anthony Brown. That's the only bad news around the Nathan Peterman signing. So let me know down below. This is going to be the pinned comment here on today's show. Will Nathan Peterman make the Raiders 53-man roster? I want you to give me a yes, or I want you to type no down below. My answer is going to be yes, and you're going to be able to hear a lot of the reasons why throughout this entire show, but you're about to get hit with that YouTube ad break. Scroll on down and give me your answer. I am going to say if he plays well against the Cowboys and he plays well against the 49ers, I do think that he's a lock to make this team as the QB3. And then even if the Raiders want to only keep 2 quarterbacks and keep Peterman on the practice squad, since you can elevate a QB every single game day, it could be something to look at. But if it ended right now, the preseason, and the Raiders had the quarterbacks that we currently have on this roster, I would be betting that Peterman makes it over Anthony Brown, that he makes it over Carter Bradley. Obviously, he's still got to go out there and perform at a decent level, but the Raiders signed him to be a practice squad backup QB3 that knows the Luke Getsy offense. Let's go to the next reason here why Peterman makes the roster. Anthony Brown has struggled of late, and I just want to say this right from the jump. I know that he almost had an unfair, not even almost, it was unfair to evaluate Brown's game in that preseason one simply because the offensive line was terrible. They couldn't block for him, and you couldn't really evaluate much there. The problem, though, is Brown did throw 2 interceptions in the Raiders' inter-squad scrimmage, and over the final week of Raiders training camp, AB, he did, man. He struggled a little bit. So when you look at the execution of Luke Getsy's offense, right, Aidan O'Connell, Nathan Peterman is a closer quarterback to Aidan O'Connell. Nathan Peterman is a closer quarterback to Gardner Minshew, where Anthony Brown, the skill set, it's not quite relative. And if I'm going to go out there and if I'm going to try to, make sure that my guys are getting solid reps in that second preseason game, to make sure that my guys are getting solid reps in that third preseason game, during the regular season, during practice, I want to make sure that I have a quarterback that fits my team's needs and fits my offensive system a little bit better. Simply put, that is Nathan Peterman. It's not Anthony Brown. Now, if Brown was going out there and balling out, this would be a totally different conversation. But this signing was made due to Anthony Brown's struggles and also Carter Bradley's struggles. We'll talk about more of why I think Nathan Peterman has a real shot to make this 53-man. Before I do, though, Prize Picks is back, and I am super, and I mean super fired up around it because I love Prize Picks, and you've probably watched our show a lot last season, and I want all y'all to download the app today. Use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. All you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Download the Prize Pick app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. If you want to know what my Prize Picks are for week 1 right now, all you can do on Prize Picks, if you want to look at the Week 1 Raiders game, here are the only 3 players that you can pick right now. So I'm going to go more with Devontae Adams, 71.5 receiving yards. Why? He torches the Chargers year in and year out, and I think he remembers that whole Pop-Tart debacle that they posted. I'm going to say less receiving yards for Brock Bowers, not because I don't believe in Brock, just it's hard to get acclimated to the NFL right away, and I do think that they're going to use Michael Mayer quite a bit. Justin Herbert on 239.5 passing yards. I'm going to give him the more on that simply because I do think Herbert's going to sling it. It will be interesting, though, to see this one because he is dealing with that plantar fascia injury. And if that continues to linger and we don't know the availability of Herbert, maybe they do decide to run the football just a little bit more. So, again, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS for that first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including Cali, Texas, and Georgia. Prize Picks is simple. You pick more than or less than. It's really that easy. Get started now if you haven't already. Those links are going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description on today's show. All right, let's go to the next one here. No trust in Carter Bradley. You have to be able to admit the Raiders showed zero confidence in Carter Bradley. In fact, you look at that final fourth quarter of that game. They didn't pass the ball a single time. And he didn't attempt a single pass in the fourth quarter. They did 9 straight runs, and it was a 3-and-out every single time. The Raiders want more reliable quarterback 3. They want a more reliable depth because, if you're going to go into that second preseason game and into that third preseason game, if you're the silver and black, you still need to be able to evaluate your wide receiver room. And if you don't have confidence in Bradley and if you don't have confidence in Anthony Brown to be able to get the most out of that QB battle, well then, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. And once the Raiders finally name that starting quarterback, which AP's hoping to be able to do after this preseason game, I think it does go back to, okay, there's still probably going to be somewhat of a battle after AP names it. I mean, whoever is the QB1 will end up being the QB1. But you still need to get good practice reps with the amount of roster players that we have that could potentially make it, especially at that wide receiver position. Let's go to the next reason here why Peterman makes the roster potentially. I'm going to say he's a very intelligent quarterback. And, a lot of times when you see the Peterman highlights, again, it goes back to the Bills game where he threw all those interceptions. But just because he threw those interceptions doesn't mean that he's not smart. He is a very, very intelligent quarterback who's played in multiple systems, got 7 years underneath his belt, and he keeps getting chances because of his ability to pick up and understand a playbook. I can remember John Gruden many years ago when he was the head coach of the Raiders talking about why when he kept bringing back Peterman, and it was like, he was so smart, he could lay a playbook down in front of him, and he'd be able to learn it and understand it and be able to help out a lot of other people, being able to pick up that playbook. So to me, Peterman is a great practice squad or preseason quarterback to just go out there and execute the plays. Multiple coaches have said this about Peterman, and I know a lot of times people are like, Well, how the heck does this guy keep getting jobs? He keeps getting jobs in the NFL because he does his job very well. His job is not to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. His job is not to be a QB2 in the NFL. He is a very, very good and reliable quarterback 3, which might seem like a type of job, but he's making a lot more than you and I. That I can guarantee you. Before I get into the final reason here, I do want to give a shout-out to our August Comment King Club. Noah Santana's at 115, but actually, this list has not been updated. Also, I got to give a shout-out to John Butson. Butson's in the lead with 167. So if anybody out there has commented more than 167 times on a video, that's how you're going to become the comment king. So that's the challenge out there. Might even be 176. It's either 167 or 176. So John Butson, I want you to know you're still the comment king. The question is, will anybody take him down? Let's go to the final reason here of why Peterman makes the Raiders roster. He is a solid quarterback mentor. Last year, multiple Chicago Bears coaches kept on talking about how he's just a good mentor for a Tyson Bagent, for a good quarterback like a Justin Fields. And if you're Getsy, then you know that those are all the truths. Carr and Gruden have spoke very, very highly of him. And, his early struggles, I think, have helped him make him a better mentor. There are not many NFL quarterbacks that have the memes that Nathan Peterman has, right? Like, Peterman is a recognizable name simply because of all the memes, of all the things that people said about him. And, mentally, you got to be able to, that's got to make you a very sharp player to be able to keep, I'm going to use a Bachelor reference. Alex is going to hate me here. The main thing, and Peterman has done that, I think, being able to do, keeping his eye on the ball, keeping him, understanding what his job ultimately is. But when you have somebody who can be a good mentor, and, I'm not even talking about Peterman being a good mentor to Aidan and Gardner, he can help them pick up the playbook a little bit better, which probably would help out their quarterback play. But it's also being a mentor for some of these younger players, the receivers, the tight ends, the offensive line, being able to understand and be able to digest what the Luke Getsy offense is, because that is very important. It's something that even Davante Adams has spoke about, how he feels like he's understanding the Getsy offense, and maybe not having Davante there for the last week of being that guy who also has some of that past experience in the Getsy offense was showed them hey, we need somebody else that could at least be a player, coach, teacher, and that's what Nathan Peterman's going to do here. So here's one more time why I think Peterman could potentially make the Raiders roster. The biggest reason is he already has some of that experience with Luke Getsy. He's a better option than Anthony Brown. He's a better option, and the Raiders have a lot more confidence in Peterman than they do Carter Bradley, quite frankly. I think Bradley probably gets cut this week, depending on, this video when it goes out. And he's also intelligent. He can be a solid quarterback mentor. All those reasons are why I think Nathan Peterman does end up making this 53-man roster, or will be the Raiders practice squad quarterback over AB and Carter Bradley.